Out of the US-Australia 2+2 strategic dialogue on August 7th came the announcement the US and Australia will hold regular exercises in Manila's EEZ, while Japanese forces would increase exercises with US Marines out of Darwin. Now, on August 1st, the Philippines and US navies conducted a joint exercise inside Manila's exclusive economic zone. This was followed the next day by the Philippines and Japan holding their first joint military exercises also in that EEZ. What's the significance, Professor Song, of this, all this activity and this timing now?
Well, in recent months, we have seen that kind of tension, confrontation between China and the Philippines increasing, growing. And it might trigger that point to have open armed conflict in the area surrounding Second Thomas Shoal. So because of this kind of confrontation, this kind of possibility of conflict, so U.S., Australia, Japan are trying to step in to show their worries and to have that kind of bilateral exercise in support of the Philippines' position. And have this kind of support, the Philippine side can adopt a much stronger action position against China. So that kind of things that's ongoing. We can see that more, and later maybe we can discuss the other joint military exercise among the Philippines and other countries. So the timing is very important. And another one is the determination of those countries to support the Philippines' action to counter the Chinese aggressive moves in the South China Sea.
Yeah, so essentially what's happening is they're triggering the very thing that they don't want to happen, Ray. And, these four countries, so Philippines, the US, Japan, and Australia, they've been given a nickname by a Pentagon official. It's called the Squad, and this happened, they were given that term after Lloyd Austin hosted the four defence ministers this year in May.
Yep.
However, the four did actually meet earlier the year before at the Shangri-La dialogue. So, for you, what is the difference between the Squad and the Quad? Now, the Quad ostensibly is to counter Chinese aggression, and yet it seems that this Squad is perhaps performing that more. Are we going to see essentially the Squad overtake the Quad?
I think they're just two different animals. The Quad has never marketed itself as something to counter China's aggression. So the Squad.
So where does that come from then?
You just sort of look at the countries involved and say, wow, they sure seem to have a lot of common interest in countering Chinese aggression. That must be what they're doing. But you've seen actually very little happen in the way of, it's not just security for the Quad. You've seen that they cooperated on COVID response, for example, in vaccine distribution, those kinds of things, economics. So they've got a much broader array. Probably the one thing the Quad does in security is the Malabar exercise, which pre-existed the Quad, but then Australia was allowed to participate in making it a Quad exercise. The Squad has been born a security exercise or a security grouping, and that, when you see the defense ministers being essentially the nuts and bolts of the Squad, that's essentially the message that's being sent, and it's being sent very specifically in response to this threat.